Hi, and welcome to A Balanced Life. I'm Patricia, and I'm thrilled to be here with you as we create a community around self care, specifically for those of us who've reached the ages of 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. We've reached this time in our lives, and there's a lot of fabulous life still ahead of us, something to look forward to every day. And sometimes, though, it can feel the opposite. The challenges and the changes and the transitions that come with aging are no joke. But I do think that if we've made it this far, then frankly, we've won the lottery. And so now I want to, as I look ahead to my future, I want to feel that I'm embracing what's to come instead of fearing it. I don't want to live these next years um, in being feeling uncertain and unsure of what's happening with me. There's a lot of things that we don't have control over. We're going to age. We have no control over that. But I think that there are some things that we can do to help alleviate what's to come, or maybe what we're in the middle of right now. I think this next chapter of our lives can be full of vibrancy, where we are thriving, not just surviving. So that's the whole point of this self-care channel. I started A Balanced Life because I was looking for a community of people like you who are at this time in our lives, and we're looking for some ways that we can bring some joy and, as I said, alleviate maybe some of the anxiety and stress that we're feeling. And when I came to YouTube, I found a lot of really fun and informative, great content around kind of the exterior aspects of aging. And really, I think for me, I was looking for something that was more about the inside, the inside out approach as opposed to the outside in. So that's what we're here for. My biggest hope is that you will share your practices and ideas around self care, because this is meant to be a conversation. I'm really wanting to develop community, and I'm hoping that you'll be a part of that. And one way to do that would be to put in the comments any ideas and practices maybe that you bring into your daily life around self-care that would be worthwhile to share with everybody. We may not all want to do the same practice, but sometimes hearing about how somebody approaches self-care or their thinking around it can really spark an idea or a new way to think about self-care in our own lives. Self-care is very individual, so any of the ideas and suggestions that I put out there are really just that, ideas and suggestions. I've studied self-care for well over 10 years, and one thing I have found is that self-care has become far more mainstream and accessible, and really the norm. It's okay now to talk about ourselves and how we're feeling, as opposed to always how we can help other people. There was that time in our lives before we reached this age where we were really, everybody else was our focus, our work, our families. Maybe we're raising children, maybe we had aging parents. We still may have those things. We still may have all those things. But we're at this point in our lives now that it's okay to focus a little bit on ourselves. But how do we do that? We have full days, our lives are busy, and maybe hopefully for you, they're rich with some wonderful things for yourself as well. But there are those of us who are still very much on the how can I serve other people? Well, I'm hoping that together we'll give ourselves permission to maybe focus that camera lens on ourselves and think about um, what we need in our day as opposed to what everybody else needs. It can feel like there's no time for that, but self-care does not have to be all encompassing. It's not that, we stop feeling things. Self-care is not meant to dull our feelings or to, um, you know, stop any kinds of negativity in our or anxiety, I guess, in our daily life. But it should give us a little bit of relief, moments of just peace and calm, and maybe just a reminder that, what, we're okay, doing our best. And, maybe some days it is about surviving, but that's awesome. If you're surviving today, that's awesome. And hopefully then it's a step for you tomorrow to maybe thrive a little bit as well. So today, though, we're going to be talking about our physical self-care. So with all of the videos, I like to share a practice, and some of the videos have been very specific about, here's a practice around breath. Some of them, the whole video has been, the conversation has incorporated a practice in it. This video is going to be looking at the different ways we can think about our physical health, and then multiple practice ideas to add to the toolkit that we have so that we can pull these out as we need them. So our physical health is just one of the three. We have physical, mental, and emotional health, our body, mind, and spirit. But we're going to focus on our physical health today. So for our physical well-being, we have to eat, we have to sleep, and we have to move. Eating, sleeping, and moving, non-negotiables. Now, if you are infirm and you can't move, we can stretch. What can we do to alleviate some of our physical pain or physical challenges? So just ways to think about this. Sleeping. Some of us have lots of challenges sleeping. I have trouble falling asleep, or I wake up really early and can't get back to sleep. So how can we alleviate that? And then eating. Am I making good choices in my day that are helping me have a nutrient rich, nourishing meal, at least one meal? Hopefully, all of the food that I intake is nourishing and helping me physically be able to live the life I want to live. So, am I living and making the choices I can today that are helping me today, but that are also going to help me in the long run over time? So, the beautiful thing about self care is that you just start where you are. It's not a race. It's very individual. It's just about you. Practices are practices. That's all they are. If you're doing the practice, you're doing self care. There's a lot of mindfulness and reflection that comes around self care. That's not specifically meditation, although meditation is a beautiful form of self care. But mindfulness is really just an awareness of this moment. So if I'm reflecting on what I want in my life, certainly around my physical health for today, eating, sleeping, and moving, I'm focusing on those specific things. So I've reflected, I'm having some mindfulness around those things, and then I'm thinking about what's important to me. What kind of life do I want to live? And then am I making the choices that help me make me live that life? Okay, so eating. Let's start with our food. So as we age, we definitely have some specific needs around food. For some of us, if we're in menopause or coming through menopause, our bodies are changing a lot, and there are definitely some healthy foods choices that we need to be making. Are we taking daily vitamins? Do we need supplements? There's lots of conversations around all of these things, but honestly, it comes down to as well, besides that. So never forget what your health practitioner is telling you. This does not supersede that. We're just looking at ways to also support the life that we want to live. Okay. So, am I making healthy food choices? Well, I love my coffee in the morning. And I know that I can't have coffee past noon. If I drink coffee in the afternoon, then I'm awake at night. So my food intake has then affected my sleeping pattern. All right, so these are ways that, this is one example of how these can be connected. So that's just one example of how, one choice in my day to not have coffee after 12 noon helps me sleep better at night. The other thing that helps me sleep better at night is to make sure that I'm moving in the day. So am I doing some kind of physical practice in my day that moves my body? We were meant to walk. We were created to move. If you still have some mobility and flexibility, then are you doing that every day? Frankly, as we're aging, getting up and down stairs may be a bit of a challenge, but that doesn't mean we can't move around our homes. In the morning with that morning coffee, I love to step outside. It can be a little bit brisk and chillier now. The air is cooler. I like to have those first sips of coffee at my doorway or out into the garden. And I'm in nature. It's peaceful. I'm having a mindful moment. I'm physically up and I'm outside. that practice of physically having that coffee that I enjoy, so I've chosen that. I've chosen to walk outside. I'm now in nature and I'm breathing that in. That has a beautiful way of starting my day off. I feel refreshed, I'm energized, I'm focused, and I'm calm. It's amazing how when we look after one part of our health, it affects the other areas of our health. So again, we're focusing on this video about the physical, but I just can't help but show and explain how when I have those physical practices, they also have an effect on my mental and my emotional health. So we know that what we eat, what we put in our bodies has a direct correlation to how we feel. And there's a lot of conversation around emotional eating. It's hard though for me to not think about food as emotion, because all of our celebrations are around food, almost all of them. And certainly when we're in times of need or trouble or in mourning, a lot of that gathering is around food. People bring food to help comfort you. My favorite memories with family are often around food. I can think about the food that my mother used to cook or my grandmother used to cook, and those hold a special place in memory. So when it comes to eating, rather than thinking about emotional eating as negative, and instead think about being mindful and aware of what we're eating. So I talked about that, when my first cup of coffee in the morning and I step outside. But I have to be honest, the rest of the day, my food can be eaten in front of a television, it can be eaten on the run, it can be eaten while I'm at work. That is my only mindful time around food. But I know I enjoy my food more. It tastes better. I am more aware actually of what I'm eating when I'm not doing anything else but eating. So that's one of my self-care practices that I've been incorporating. And that is specifically and especially over lunch in the middle of my day. So I still work. And so in the middle of the day, I stop everything. I work from home usually. So I heat up my lunch and I'm very intentional about what I eat. And then I sit and enjoy it. Sometimes I'll be reading the newspaper or something online. I'm still, though, focused mostly on my food. And I find it's more fulfilling. I eat less and I remember the taste. Once I started to do this practice of being very mindful and aware when I'm eating, I can now remember what I ate last week. There were times when I couldn't remember what I'd eaten in the day because eating was just the thing I was doing while I was focused on something else that was in my mind more important. Okay, so now I have a mindfulness around my food and I'm enjoying it more, and I'm making better choices around food that are helping me, create and live the life I want to live. So that's eating and sleeping. So now we're at sleeping. Sleeping. Does anybody else have problems falling asleep at night? Yeah. So there's a lot of research around turning off your phone and not having that light from your iPad or your iPhone on before you go to bed, and also not having your phone near you when you sleep. Now, that seems fairly impractical, but it's true, but also it's a challenge. So I know that as I've aged, sleep has become increasingly important. Sleep, when we're sleeping, we're rejuvenating our bones, we're rejuvenating our muscles, we're relaxing and getting that tension out. Our REM sleep is important. So we know all of this, and especially it's true as we age. So if I can help myself sleep optimally at night, then I'm setting myself up, first of all, for a great night's sleep, and then the next day being better prepared for the day to come. I'm always in a better frame of mind when I'm rested. So, what are my practices? Well, when my kids were little, they used to do this bath bottle book in bed. So they do one of those after another. And the beautiful thing was their little bodies regulated. So they would know after dinner, once we started the book or bottle bath, whichever one was first, then they were like, oh, okay, now we're on the track to bed. And they knew that was just what we did before we went to bed. And then they would go into bed, and most of the times they would fall asleep. But their bodies knew that it was the countdown time. As adults, we've deregulated ourselves. So our bodies are now no longer self regulating to prepare for bed. Oftentimes we work. If you're on a busy deadline or you've got pressures within the house, you're busy right until that your head hits the pillow. And maybe your sleeping isn't consistent. Maybe your bedtime every night isn't consistent. So we know that consistency and a sleep routine, bedtime routine to get you to sleep, is what's going to help you set up for a good night's sleep. I have, my skincare routine that I do at night. I brush my teeth. I do my 3 gratitudes. I've talked about that in another video, but basically what that is I'm brushing my teeth and I'm thinking of 3 things from the day that I'm grateful for. They can be small things, they can be grand gestures, they can be a conversation I had with somebody. Doesn't have to be 3 huge things. It can just be small. Sometimes in our challenging days, it can be hard to find something to be grateful for. So I might be grateful the day is over. Fair enough. We don't have to always have, the big life-changing moments. But I know for myself, even in my challenging days, if while I'm brushing my teeth before I go to bed, I'm thinking about 3 things I'm grateful for, recollecting them and saying them to myself, that I'm bringing some memory of moments when I had, oh yeah, that was a nice moment today. And sometimes that's just all I need to just reset my brain a little bit, reframe my thought pattern. I love to read before bed. Lots of people read. Some people listen to podcasts. And whatever it is that just helps you get out of your own mind and just enjoy and be soothing is important. Now, there's a practice I call the breath waltz that helps sleep at night. And this is also a practice I do in the middle of the night as well if I've woken up and I can't get back to sleep. What I'll do is I'll do the sleep waltz. And what you do is when you're inhaling, you're counting to 3 in keeping with the time of your breath. And when you exhale, you're counting 3 in keeping with the time of your breath. What typically happens for me is I'm inhaling 1, and I'm exhaling 1, and I'm inhaling. So my breath is slowing down, exhaling. When I'm thinking about breathing and I'm counting through the breath, it's hard to think of anything else. So there's a mindfulness practice that's happening. And when I let the counting follow my breath, it just slows right down. It becomes almost hypnotic. Now I can be in the middle of the counting and my mind starts to wander to something else, but I just bring it right back on the 1, wherever that's the inhale or the exhale. And I'm inhaling and I'm exhaling. Wonderful thing about this practice is, first of all, I do this all the time. And I have found that, like the self-regulation in the evening, I know it's time for bed, I'm brushing my teeth, my body's regulating itself to sleep, to get ready for sleep. When I do this practice, now my body knows. I have this muscle memory. Okay, we're going to get into sleep again. Here's the pattern coming, because my body wants to sleep, right? So it's going to do what it can to help me sleep as well. Now, there are days when it's 4:30 in the morning and I'm lying wide awake and I can't get back to sleep, and I honor myself by getting up. I will get up. I'll make that coffee really early. I'll look out the window. I'll read something online a little bit longer. Maybe I'll do some journaling. Maybe I'm folding laundry. Sometimes it's better not to fight it and to just honor it. but that's the sleeping. So we have to eat, we've got to sleep well, and then third one is to move. At this stage in our lives, many of us are not running marathons. If you're running a marathon, fabulous. And I think it's extraordinary that at our age, there are still people who are that committed to their physical health. They're running races and training every day for long marathons. For many of us, the physical has become about what can I do in my day to make sure that I can move tomorrow. You know, there was a Mel Robbins interview that I listened to. Mel Robbins, a fabulous author and podcaster, and she was talking with her mother-in-law. And her mother-in-law, who's in her 80s, has a hiking group of women, if I have the story correct, who are in their 70s. And Mel Robbins said to her, you know, why are you walking with 70-year-olds? And she said, the response was, well, because my 80-year-old friends aren't walking. They're not going on long walks and hikes. And then Mel Robbins said, when you were all in your 70s, were they walking and going on hikes? And the mother-in-law responded, no, they weren't. Aha moment. If I want to walk in 10 years and 20 years, I have to be walking now. So I love going for long walks, but not everybody does. Maybe you enjoy yoga. Maybe you love to stretch, right? What is the physical joy that you find when you move your body? Some of us love to dance. I'll dance when I'm making dinner, I'll put on some fun music and I'll dance around to that. And I love that. That is physically moving. My body's up. The challenge for me is that I can be seated for hours at a time. I really enjoy my work and I can get into it, and it can be hours, can go by 2, 3 hours before I realize that I have not stood up. Not healthy, not at our age, that's for sure. I need to be up and moving every hour. So find a practice that works for you. Maybe you want to join a dance group. Maybe you go to the Y or the community center. Maybe there's neighbors that you can get together with and stroll around the neighborhood with. Maybe you love gardening. It doesn't have to be organized. It can be spontaneous and doesn't have to be the same thing every day. The practice is to move every day in a way that makes you feel good, in a way that helps you live and create the life you want to live. And so that is our physical health. We have mental and emotional still to go, but today we were focusing on our physical health. I'm very curious to hear from you. If you have any practices around your physical health that you think would be worth sharing and informative and enjoyable for all of us. I'm always looking for new ways to bring, movement into my daily life. I'm the kind of person who can't do the same thing every day. I could for 3 weeks, but I can't for 3 months. I love walking, but I'm not going to walk in my neighborhood every day for 3 months. But I will walk in my neighborhood and I will dance and I will go swimming and I will go to the gym. All different days, all different things. Some things take 10 minutes, some things take an hour. It just depends on my mood. But I'm committed to moving every day. So that's my commitment to my physical health. The other commitment I'm making to my physical health is to have mindful eating rather than just always eating on the go, just being aware of the food I'm eating and enjoying it and just taking some time around it. And then for my sleep health, well, if I'm eating well and I'm moving well, my sleep's going to be better too. But I'm learning to turn off my phone a little bit earlier. I'm learning to find some more restful things to read and to make sure that I'm consistent every night with the time I go to bed. So thank you so much for being here. Please like and subscribe. And don't forget to put into comments, as I've said multiple times, anything that you think would be helpful. I'd love to share those in a future video. Be well, and most importantly, do something kind for yourself today because you deserve it.